Hey, what's going on everyone? Greg here, and just yesterday I posted my 2019 MacBook Pro review 1 month later, so we spent a pretty good amount of time with the computer going over its strengths and weaknesses. And in that video, in my conclusion, even though I liked this laptop, I said that maybe you should wait because there is a rumored 16.5-inch kind of bezel-less MacBook Pro on the horizon that may be coming soon, and now we have even more reports out today with more details and when we can expect that MacBook Pro. And that rumored MacBook Pro is coming as soon as September of this year, September 2019. According to industry report IHS, Apple is set to launch a new 16-inch MacBook Pro later this year with a targeting manufacturing date set for September 2019 with 250,000 units. Apple is also apparently working on processor updates to the MacBook Air and MacBook Pro, also due out in September, which makes sense because Apple recently registered 7 different MacBook models with a Eurasian database, and that usually means new products will be coming out in the coming months. So okay, we have reports that a 16.5-inch MacBook Pro is coming out soon, but what can we really expect this thing to look like? So it sounds like this MacBook Pro isn't going to be any bigger or that much bigger than the current 15-inch laptop, so it should have around the same size footprint, but it will be eliminating or reducing a lot of the bezel inside of the screen to expand it from 15.4 inches to 16.5 inches. IHS is saying that the resolution on the 16-inch MacBook Pro will be 3072 by 1920, which should give it the same 220 pixels per inch as the current 15-inch MacBook Pro, making it a Retina display. Recently, we've heard some rumors that Apple is indeed working with Samsung to bring OLED display technology over to the MacBook and iPad lineups. Now, with this report, they're saying that this year's MacBook Pro with that bezel-less screen won't be featuring an OLED panel, it will still be using LCD technology. Now, I'm somewhat mixed about OLED versus LCD on a MacBook. Now, on one hand, OLED does provide amazing contrast ratios and amazing black levels, so if you're watching any sort of video content, that looks really good on an OLED display, and then you can achieve things like HDR a lot easier. On the other hand, OLED panels also have their downsides. Number one, the cost of an OLED panel is much more than an LCD panel, so if they do incorporate that, you can expect a hefty price increase. But not only that, there are some other negatives compared to an LCD screen that might not make it great on a laptop. The first one being is that OLED panels still can have burn-in issues. Now, the iPhone XS and iPhone XS Max do a pretty good job mitigating those OLED burn-in issues, so maybe that 16.5-inch MacBook Pro, if it did go to an OLED technology, maybe it would be just as good as preventing the burn-in issues. However, sometimes on a screen like a laptop, you have images that are open for a prolonged period of time, like the menu bar, like the dock, or something that is just persistently there, like you have a web page open and then you don't put the computer to sleep. Maybe that could cause some burn-in issues on those laptops. Now, the second issue with having OLED on a laptop, that OLED panel might not be as color accurate as an LCD panel. For instance, on the iPhone XS versus the iPhone XR, a lot of people prefer the OLED screen on the iPhone XS for the reasons I listed before, but if you looked at the specs of the iPhone XR, the LCD screen on that is actually more color accurate than the XS model. Now, moving away from the display size, we really don't know all too much about what this MacBook Pro will look like. We're in a very similar situation to what we were speculating the Mac Pro would look like, and a lot of people got that wrong. But with this 16.5-inch MacBook Pro, I think Apple is going to do a little different take than what we saw on previous generations of the MacBook Pro. Apple got a lot of backlash over the thinness of the 2016 MacBook Pro and the performance of their Pro lineup in recent years. Now that we have a Mac Pro, we might be seeing a MacBook Pro aimed at the highest end of the Pro market. And this could possibly mean even a separate new tier of MacBook Pros. And this wouldn't exactly be an unprecedented move from Apple. When they released the first Retina MacBook Pro, they kept around the older MacBook Pros with the disk drives for a couple of years, and that Retina MacBook Pro was seen as a brand new tier that went above the previous laptop iterations. Now, if Apple is branching this MacBook Pro or MacBook Ultra off into its own tier, I think we can expect it to have a different design element than the current 15-inch version. For example, Apple could choose to make this new design thicker than the older versions to allow for better thermals inside of the computer. By having better thermals and cooling inside of that computer, they could address a lot of the complaints people have had about MacBook Pros for this generation, including the ones I came up with in my review, and that would be just how hot that laptop gets when it's under load, and also the fan noise inside of that machine is a little bit loud for an Apple product. We saw with the internal redesign of the iMac Pro a much better approach to cooling, and because of that, the fan noise on the iMac Pro is almost virtually dead silent. Not only would the laptop run cooler and maybe even have lower fan noise, but if Apple is packing in those 8-core processors like they did with the 2019 MacBook Pro, maybe they could run those at higher frequencies for a prolonged period of time, rather than the current situation of the 2019, where even though it does run above the base clock speed, it doesn't reach that 4.8 or 5 gigahertz max speed for a long period of time. It gets too hot and has to throttle it back down towards that base clock speed. Also, with that better cooling, we could see Apple adding new GPUs to the MacBook Pro. One of the weaker sides of that 2019 MacBook Pro was the base GPU that came inside of it, so we could see Apple going with the Navi architecture by AMD, which should offer better graphical performance. The current MacBook Pro also maxes out at 32 gigabytes of RAM, so we could see this new MacBook Pro max out somewhere near 64 gigabytes. And with this new tier, I think it's all about power, and this will definitely be aimed at more of that pro market, more of that power user market, and maybe we might even run into a situation where people are going to get a big sticker shock, and that this might create a similar situation to when Apple revealed that new 2019 Mac Pro and it started at $6,000, which could leave a really, really bad taste in people's mouths. But hopefully, I'm thinking that because the current 15-inch MacBook Pro starts at $2,399, and then you can get upgrades to $2,799, and you can spec it out even more than that. Maybe the starting price for this 16.5-inch MacBook Pro would be closer to $3,000. But if they are going for that kind of Mac Pro audience, we could see this thing start as high as maybe $4,000 or $5,000. Now, there are still some more features we might expect out of this new 16.5-inch MacBook Pro, and that might come in the form of a new keyboard. According to people in the know like Marco Arment, who does know people that work at Apple, according to him, he heard that Apple might be incorporating a new keyboard inside of that MacBook Pro that would be very similar to the Magic keyboards that are currently found on iMacs. It's no secret that the Butterfly keyboard has had a host of issues, and Apple came out with a redesigned keyboard for the 2019 model with new materials that they said should fix the problem. However, even if it does fully fix that problem, people still don't like the travel on those Butterfly keyboards, so this could be a way to offer another keyboard that has more travel than the Butterfly keyboard. Another tidbit from this redesigned keyboard is that it will still keep the touch bar, however, it will incorporate a physical escape key rather than a virtual one. There's also some other features I think we can see make its way to the 16.5-inch MacBook Pro, including a Face ID sensor inside of it. If they're putting back the physical escape key, maybe that means they could get rid of the Touch ID sensor, put the power button back there, make it more uniform, and then have a Face ID sensor sitting on top of the MacBook Pro, which would make a lot of sense when you open up your MacBook Pro, screen's right in front of you, and then it would just instantly unlock your device using your face. We could also see maybe some more ports make its way back to the MacBook Pro. Now, I don't think we would see anything like USB-A added back, but maybe the option of an SD card slot coming back into Apple's laptops. Like I mentioned in my 15-inch 2019 MacBook Pro review, we are really expecting a 16.5-inch laptop to come out this year, and whether or not it is a new tier, whether or not the pricing will be higher, which I'm guessing it probably will be, a lot of people are really looking forward to this laptop because Apple has had a bit of a stumble with their Mac lineup in that kind of 2016 year, and they're kind of taking a different approach now, it seems, with products like the new Mac Mini, the iMac Pro, and that new powerful but very expensive Mac Pro. It looks like Apple is really shifting more focus on the Pro audience, so I'm really excited to see what Apple will do with this laptop. But anyway, that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited for the 16.5-inch bezel-less MacBook Pro? What sort of features do you think Apple will implement? As always, if you liked the video, make sure you give me a like. If you want to see more from my channel, make sure you're subscribed. And as always, I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.